So today's parable, you are the salt of the earth, light of the world. Couple important things to keep in mind. So when is Jesus saying this? What is the context in which he's saying this? Last week at Mass, the gospel was the Beatitudes. This is literally the next line. So we're in the same homily, if you will. He goes right from the Beatitudes into this. So there's clearly a connection there. It's the same sermon, Sermon on the Mount. So that's when he's saying this. Who is he saying this to? What's the scope of how he's saying this? Did you notice the wording here? He says, not just, you're the salt of your family. You're the salt of Eagan, Minnesota. No, you're the salt of the earth, the planet. So the scope here is huge. And the other detail that I want to just lay out here that's important to understand what Jesus is saying fully is actually where he's saying this. So recall, the Sermon on the Mount is on the Mount. For those that have been to the Holy Land, you actually can go and visit the place where he gave the Sermon on the Mount. It's like this mountain, this hill, that's right next to the Sea of Galilee. So it's this hilly area. Jesus is on top, and he can see, and everybody gathered around him is right in front of this massive sea, this massive lake. And for people at that time, there were two main bodies of water that were in that area. The Sea of Galilee, where Jesus fished, he walked on the water, he did all that stuff. And then the Dead Sea. If you've ever swam in the Dead Sea, it's great because you don't even need to kick, you just float. It's really salt concentrated. But there's these two bodies of water. And so as Jesus is saying this, there's actually deep words to the deep meaning to his words here. The Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea are both fed by the River Jordan. You know Jesus was baptized in that river. That's an important river. And now the Sea of Galilee, the Jordan River flows in, and then it also on the other side flows out. So in the middle, there's this constant movement of water, and it's actually full of life. It's full of fish, it's full of vegetation, it's full of plants. It receives water, and then it keeps going. The Dead Sea is actually different. The Dead Sea receives water, but like the name, there's no exit. There's no output. It just kind of, I guess, stays there. And so the Dead Sea actually hoards every single drop of water. And because it only receives and it never gives, the water of the Dead Sea just evaporates and it leaves behind this super, super, super salty residue in the water. My brothers and sisters, I think one of the things that Jesus would be trying to tell us, one of the images that he's given when he's talking about salt in this spot, is he's saying, are you a Sea of Galilee? Does God's grace flow through you out into others? Or are you a Dead Sea? Is God pouring his graces on you and it just reservoirs inside you? That's a great question. That's the paradox of the Christian life. Do I hoard my faith, keeping it to myself? Am I stagnant, lifeless? Am I a Dead Sea? Or am I applying what God is giving to me to the world? It's something we receive and we give. But this is the importance of the context in which he's giving this here. Now, many parables that Jesus gives, I think are like, duh. You know, like we hear him talk about, you are the light of the world. Yeah, I got that one, right? Like, yeah, I'm supposed to, with the light of God, go into the world and testify that there's something beyond this world. Makes sense. Or, go and bear fruit. That's an analogy. He's not saying go and give people apples. He's saying go into the world and produce good things the same way a tree produces apples. Go and produce good things. Today he says you are the salt of the earth. I don't know about you. I didn't get that one first. I'm like, you lost me. So I looked it up. Salt had two primary purposes back in the day, back in Jesus' time, and still today as well. So the first thing that salt does is it adds flavor. When you're at Perkins and you order yourself an omelet, you put the salt on it. It adds flavor. The second thing that salt does, they didn't have refrigerators in Jesus' time. They would put salt on food so that it wouldn't go bad. It wouldn't go stale. So salt adds flavor, and salt actually keeps things from going bad. So Jesus, underneath all of this, is saying, when he's saying, you are the salt of the earth, this is his underlying message. Salt. It's put on things to add flavor. I'm going to say this, and I think this is something that we can continue to pray about. My brothers and sisters, heaven is an acquired taste. Heaven's an acquired taste. That's not something we're born with. And if we don't acquire that taste, heaven's not going to be very heavenly for us. You know, I think sometimes, at least as a kid, I had this mindset. I'm like, okay, heaven is like the Disney World of the next life. You know, everybody wants to go there. Everybody wants in. And only if I'm a good boy am I going to get let in. I actually don't think that's as accurate. I don't think that's super accurate. I think heaven is an acquired taste. I think that in reality, I need to acquire the taste for holiness, the things of God, the peace that only God can give, prayer, the joy that comes from serving other people, falling in love with God. If that's not a taste that we have acquired, you'd be in heaven and you'd be like, what are these people doing? I don't even fit in up here. Heaven wasn't heavenly for us. I mean, it's comparable to when I was a 5-year-old kid, I thought coffee was the grossest thing on earth. I'm like, it's like brown hot water, bitter. Well, now I'm a coffee snob, my aunt says. She's like, Father Ryan, you're a coffee snob. If they gave me an unlimited subscription to Starbucks or whatever, and they said, you could have any coffee in the world, 5-year-old me would look at that and I'd be like, that does nothing for me. I have not acquired that taste. Coffee's gross, whether you put whipped cream on the top or not. Me today, different story. Have we acquired the taste for heaven? As the salt of the earth, have I acquired the taste for prayer, love of neighbor, serving the poor, holiness? And same thing with this, we're the flavor. I myself need to have acquired that taste, and then when I'm in the world, I'm testifying to that by the way I live. And it actually changes how you live. When I was, my birthday a couple years ago, Monsignor Rolf's a good priest friend of mine. He brought me out for dinner to celebrate my birthday. And we went, I'm not a good cook, so I have very poor taste in food. He brought me to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Because I'm like, does Ruth own Chris, who owns the steakhouse? Or how does that work? But he brought me here, and I'm eating this steak, and I'm like, I did not know food could taste this good. I had no idea. My palate was forever changed. And Monsignor Rolf said before we left, he's like, you're thanking me now. When you go home and have steak with your parents on a normal Sunday, you're going to be cursing God and man. You're going to be so mad at me because I ruined your experience of steak forever. You're no longer going to find those steaks enjoyable because I've given you this, like, your palate has been expanded. And my brothers and sisters, isn't that just true when it comes to the spiritual life? I mean, I used to get peace before I fell in love with Jesus. I used to get peace from people complimenting me. Wow, they think I'm pretty good. Or when I would win a game of such and such against someone. Wow, yeah, that's great. To be honest with you, the more I fall in love with God and taste actual peace, I taste the Ruth Chris of the spiritual life, the other stuff doesn't do it for me. When we acquire the taste of heaven, a taste for the next life, all of a sudden, those other things don't compare. And so my brothers and sisters, the first thing he's saying is salt. You are the salt of the earth, the entire earth. When you go into the world, you need to have acquired the taste for heaven and to share that. To share that with people in your life. And the other thing that salt does, so it adds flavor, and the other thing it does is it keeps things from spoiling. It protects. And so if you're salt, and I'm salt, when we go into the world, right, we're experiencing a ton of different things that actually are contrary to the gospel, that are contrary to what Jesus teaches. Popularity, selfishness, focus on yourself. Not in a healthy way, but inordinately. Noise, fill your day with noise. Don't let any silence get in. Don't pray. And if you need to tear someone down, go ahead and do it. You can hide behind a keyboard, no problem. Greed, lust, yada, 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 yada. All these influences of the world. And what is Jesus saying in the midst of this? He's saying, you as salt, you go out there and you be stalwart, firm, protective. Do not let your guard down. Do not let that stale or rotting decay come into you or the people around you? The stuff that I just listed from the world, insults, selfishness, popularity, yada yada, to quote Deacon Hall, that ages like milk. That is not going to go well. His promises are eternal. And as salt, our presence can actually keep things from going bad, can keep it from going stale. I'll finish with this. Here's the example of what I mean. A good friend of mine, Father Alex Rassett, he's the priest in St. Michael. He is the happiest person I have ever seen. He's like a little elf, Santa's elf or something. But he is so good. But in seminary, I remember there's a group of us sitting at lunch, and I said something that wasn't very kind about a brother who was not at our table. All right? It was kind of the world. It was speaking ill of another person when they're not there. It wasn't super bad, but if the other person had heard that, they certainly would have been hurt. And I said it, and then Father Alex was at that table, and he didn't even say anything in response. All he did was, oh. And that was it. I'm like, ooh. I just tried to throw stale. I just tried to throw bad. I just tried to throw worldly influences into this conversation, and he wasn't having it. Salt. He was firm. He was not letting the decay get in there. He didn't even have to use words. He just moaned. And I'm like, well, never going to do that again. Learn my lesson. But anyways, our lesson today is, number one, Jesus is telling us, you are the salt of the earth. You add flavor. You and I must acquire that taste, keep that taste, and share that taste, that Ruth's Chris of the next life with the world. And number two, we need to remain stalwart. We need to be protected, protecting ourselves, protecting those in our life against that decay of the world. Because it's only God that's going to last, and we as His salt need to help promote that. Lord, please give us the grace to do that, to be the salt of the earth and the light to the world. Amen.